and super stoked to be out here. So I'm sorry, I was getting something started. So these guys are eager to see what they've got about, against all these others that they haven't seen from around the world in a bit of time. So everyone's nervous. Everyone's been training at home, tuning their equipment, analyzing race videos from previous events, doing their scout reports, and we are inside 1 minute at this time for the first race of the Hydrofoil Pro Tour 2016. Stop number 4 here in Rockingham. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us. We're really, really stoked to be here. This beautiful town of Rockingham has been amazing so far. We've had great kiting days, big breeze. This is our first light air day, and we're getting started actually about 3.5 hours behind schedule. But nonetheless, here we go. We are just inside of 30 seconds, 20 seconds. They're gathering up at the line. Looks like a nice start developing here.
Last flag down in
10,
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, now.
They're all clear. Everyone has been on the correct side of the start line as they rush off on the first beat of the Hydrofoil Pro Tour Rockingham. Look at that picture. 56 kites on the line. Haven't counted them. We got a couple trailing from the back, but there they go. Flat water, breeze at 210 degrees, 11 knots. And they are away. So for those watching this on the drone, they will see that there are a couple people getting edged out. They're poking out in front of this group, and it's important that you get poked out in front before you run into that swimming restriction area. Because once you run into that area, everyone's got to tack over. And if you get caught up in that muck, tacking over and get tangled with somebody, you got big problems. So just to get your nose out there and be able to tack clear in front of everybody without having a tangle or an incident with anybody on starboard tack, very important. So you'll see many of the riders are tacking now. They're getting out there early and maybe even thinking that the right-hand side of the course could be good. I know one of the local guys yesterday was telling us that the right-hand side of the course is often good because there's just steadier breeze and a little bit more velocity, where on the left-hand side of the course, the wind kind of shifts with the land and gives you an advantaged wind angle. So on this course, it's velocity versus angle, right to left. And of course, with everybody on starboard after the start, with right of way, they all sail towards that beach, and then they go back on port tack and run back out towards the right-hand side of the course. So an orange kite up there is Nico Parlier. A white kite up there is Oliver Bridge. I see Jean de Falbert having an excellent race on the light blue and white kite with a Mauritius logo on it. Lovely island of Mauritius. Looks like Florian Trittel with the Spanish flag on his blue kite is doing pretty well up there on the left-hand side. He's hit the wall and is probably on the inside line. He's got big speed. First boats are around, and boom. They're on their way down. So I believe that orange kite is going to be Nico Parlier. Not sure who the blue kite is. And then the white kite is Oliver Bridge. And then there's a black and blue kite. I'll let you know who they are when they get around this bottom mark. Still getting acquainted with all these kite colors out here today. And all the personalities that are going to show up for this event. It's funny to say, they all disappear for 2 months and they go to their corners of the world and they grab their training partner and they hit the gym and they eat their vegetables and then they come back and see what happens. And they start jibing down near the bottom of the course. And boom, boom, boom. We started that race at what time? 3:45. So this is so far a pretty long. No, 350, right? 350. Yeah. I'm gonna say. It feels long. Look at him go. So it's Nico Parlier, then Oliver Bridge, down at the bottom. Guy Bridge, Martin Dolenk, and that looks like Florian Gruber. So a good mixed bag up at the top. There's Ricardo Lechese. Oh no, that is Florian Trittel, and then Jean Defalbert. So I bet Ricardo was in that group, in that first pack that came around. Everyone taking a right-hand turn, no one wanting to go out to that right-hand side of the course, the outside. If they were to go out where those big boats are, they feel like it's just not going to be much of an advantage. So everybody at the bottom is going back toward the beach. I guess they all felt that angle was more advantageous than the velocity that may be realized further out into the bay. So being the gamblers that they are, the middle of the pack, they come around and they send it out to that right-hand side to give it a look. Because, hey, you know, you're in the middle and you want to win, let's roll the dice. So we've got a solid group of 4 or 5 that are heading out as we look upwind to the right-hand side. And then a big group goes over to the beach and then comes back over and heads out to the right-hand side just a little bit later, a little bit more up the course. So really the trick out here is to choose your line so that you have the best wind better than everyone else. And of course, an unobstructed path. You don't want a sailboat to get in your way. You don't want any dolphins to get in your way. You don't want your friends to get in your way. So you just pick the best line, and as the breeze, you know, builds in velocity and drops in velocity very, you know, just between 2 or 3 knots maybe, and it shifts back and forth. Maybe here I've been seeing 5, 7, 10 degree shifts here and there. Pretty steady, but a little gusty. You just pick that best line with the best wind, and you go the fastest, and you manage your equipment the best, and you keep it all on the whole time, and that's what wins regattas. That's what wins races. Trevor Milton gives me a wind shot of about 9, 10 knots down here at the bottom boat, so it's a light air day for the folks here in Rockingham. But I'd say probably, you know, a lot of people would be loving 10 knots right about now. You're probably sitting at home on your computers wishing there was breeze. Because if there was breeze, you wouldn't be watching us or listening to this. You'd be watching it on the replay. What a sight. Look at all these kites. It's full on. Full speed. Jamming into the bottom mark. Here they come. It looks like Bridge got the best of Parlier. Bridge might have picked off Parlier, did he? Sorry, I'm just blabbing out here, not paying attention to what's going on in the race course, but Parlier, oh, that's Lechese. Parlier comes into the bottom ahead of Bridge on the orange kite. He's rounding the bottom right now, taking a right-hand turn and headed toward the beach. Ollie jibes inside. He's going to take a right-hand turn. Lechese on the orange kite. He's going to take a right-hand turn. So that's 1, 2, and 3 right now. Nico Parlier, followed by Ollie Bridge, then Ricardo Lechese, and then Martin Dolenk, who's having a hell of a race. Martin Dolenk's pushing really hard. Then Guy Bridge. He takes a right-hand turn. I think that would be Florian Gruber next. He's on a light green kite, kind of a lime green yellow. You know who we haven't seen is Tony Vodasek. Florian Trittel comes in at the bottom and pushes super hard. Rounds right next to a couple of tail enders, and Jean de Falbert. Where is Tony Vodasek? The Croatian may have slipped by. He might be way in the lead, but I'm pretty sure we haven't seen him come through yet. He'll be wondering what happened to his performance in this race. But this is what we've got, about a 9-minute and 15-second race so far. Most of the top guys, riders, are about halfway up the last upwind course, upwind beat. They're about halfway, and they'll be finishing in about a minute or a minute and a half. So folks on the beach, at attention, we've got Nico Parlier, Ollie Bridge, and Riccardo Lucchese all coming into that top mark, and they're going to burn off to that finish line in about a minute from now. Let's hear it from you on the beach. How do you like this competition so far? Give us a round of applause. These riders came here from all over the world, 18 countries represented. They hop on a plane with their kite surfing gear and bang, they're off. And they get to compete all over the world at championships like this. We're honored to be here in Rockingham. Thank you all for having us. We hope that we can make our stay worth it for you. Spend some money in the local bars, that's for sure. It'll be game on Tuesday night at the end of this championship, I'll tell you what. These folks can cut a bay and they can cut a rug. Trev, I'd like to get this boat. I think we're short on our target time, quite a bit. Have we had a finisher yet? There they are. Yep, there he is. Nico Parlier coming through the finish line. Full speed. Here comes Nico Parlier. He's through. Ollie Bridge is through, and Riccardo Lucchese is through. Give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. That is your top three. The first orange kite, Nico Parlier from France. Second kite in white, Oliver Bridge from the UK. And the third kite, orange, is Riccardo Lucchese, hailing from Italy and also Colombia. Right on. So that's what we do. That's what we got. We're gonna check out for a minute on this live Mixler. The folks on the beach, thanks for joining us. We're gonna come back to you in about 15, 20 minutes, and we'll have another race. We're gonna wait for everybody to get through the finish line, give them all a chance to have some water, and boom, away we go again. So thanks for joining us. This is the Hydrofoil Pro Tour 2016. Look us up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Thank you all for joining us. Cheers.